Meow Wolf is constructing a Victorian house in Santa Fe, New Mexico, with wormholes that are going to transport you into an array of fantastic dimensions. And our goal is simple. Meow Wolf wants to produce the most spectacular experiences that humans have ever seen. So what's a Meow Wolf? Well, it's a lot of things. It's two random words that we pulled out of two hats and put together that we now identify ourselves by. That's one thing. But we're a business. We're an art collective. We're a production company. We're a social group. We're a set of philosophies. But really, the best way to describe Meow Wolf is that we're a single entity. We are an evolving, growing, morphing, creative creature that lives and breathes and changes depending on who is a part of it, who's participating, who's influencing it. And I think that that's really what the big idea is here about Meow Wolf. It started 8 years ago, a room full of 20-somethings who got together to discuss what it might look like if we were to get our own space, have our own space for creativity, for creative expression, for whatever. We crunched the numbers, and we realized that for $75 a month each, we could have our own venue. We could have our own venue for art shows, or for lectures, or for music shows, or for just hanging out. It wasn't about money. It wasn't about business. It wasn't about revenue. It wasn't about our customer base. It was about just expressing ourselves. Now, the exclusive nature of the art world in Santa Fe at the time was very disheartening to us. We felt like we were on the outside, kind of looking in. And so we knew that when we started Meow Wolf, we really wanted to create a new perspective on how people participated with art. And so we became what we called an open door collective, radically inclusive. Basically, anybody could show up at any time to do whatever they wanted for whatever reason without being asked, without having to ask or being asked what they're doing. I mean, basically, it was just totally open door process. That definitely affected the way that we operated, of course. It affected the way that we've grown over the last 8 years as individuals, the way that we speak to each other, our outlook on life. And it certainly influenced the type of artwork that we created. We started off by producing these two-dimensional collaborative murals that would be on the walls, flat work. And we started building off the walls with these sculptures made out of whatever, tape, styrofoam, paper mache. And then we started building like little, forts. I'm not going to mince words here. They're forts. Everyone likes forts. So we started creating forts. Places that people could crawl inside, caves that you could venture through. We like to use a lot of color. Meow Wolf likes to use a lot of different types of textures. And we like to use a lot of recycled materials that you could find in a thrift shop or pulled straight out of a dumpster. We like psychedelic colors, psychedelic patterns, fluorescent lights, black lights. And really, we want to create environments that were unusual, that were unique, that carried a different type of tone than the type of environments that we're so used to. Every day people go through various environments, and they're the same environments over and over and over again. They're very monotonous, they're mundane. The Best Buy in Albuquerque is the exact same Best Buy in Lubbock, for instance. And this is our experience as humans, like every day. And so Meow Wolf really loved the idea of creating environments that shocked people out of that monotony. We covered every inch of every wall with work. And what resulted were these immersive, maximalist, interactive environments that audiences loved. I mean, instead of creating paintings that you walk up to, Meow Wolf was creating paintings that you could walk inside of. In 2011, we were asked to do a show at the Center for Contemporary Arts in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Meow Wolf was about 40 people at this time, and we worked for a year to design and construct the Do Return. The Do Return was a giant ship and an alien environment that ship had crash-landed into. The Do Return was a pilgrimage ship, except that it had been pulled into like a crazy rip in time-space that had it traveling the seas of the universe for 300 years, going from vortex to vortex and time-space to time-space. We created a whole narrative for the show. We had a whole crew. They had like a history to them. And we opened it to the public. We had no idea how the public was going to respond. We worked for like a year, all volunteer hours, and we had no idea at that point. And the result was like amazing. People flocked to the Do Return. We got 25,000 visitors in 3 months. This was in 2011. And we had families coming in that had never stepped foot in an art gallery before, never felt comfortable stepping foot in an art gallery before. And they would come in first like really hesitant, and then they would leave with, like all blissed out. We had grandparents coming with their grandchildren, and no matter the age, the response was the same. It was the same sort of awe in the space. And then we had a moment that was really pivotal for Meow Wolf, and something that happened while I was at the front desk of the show. A mother came up to us and said, "Thank you. Meow Wolf's Do Return is the first thing that has pulled my son away from video games all summer long." And it was, thanks. And it was in that moment that we realized, I had like a total aha moment, like a light bulb went off. Like, oh, this is no longer just about artists expressing themselves. This is about producing something for an audience that's deeply craving it. And so we knew that we had to produce more of these. We knew that we had to build bigger. We knew that we had to build more permanently. And so we just didn't know how to do that. So we spent a lot of time figuring out the business side of it, and really it came down to, I think every fairy tale story like this sort of has a genie in a bottle character that comes along and grants the 3 wishes or makes the dream come true or whatever. We definitely have that. And it happens to be the Game of Thrones author, George R.R. Martin. We all love George. George is like, obviously a hero, lives in Santa Fe. And I wrote to George, I wrote an email last August. I was like, "Hey George, there's this really cool building in Santa Fe. It's 33,000 square feet, and Meow Wolf has this crazy idea for it. Let's talk." And I did not expect to get a response. It was a total long shot, and lo and behold, a couple days later, George freaking R.R. Martin responded. And he was like, "Yeah, let's sit down." So I had a meeting with George, and we talked about Meow Wolf's business plan, and we talked about our vision for things, and he said, "Yeah, let's do it. I like it." So 5 months later, George bought the building, and he signed a 10-year lease with Meow Wolf to construct our first permanent art experience in Santa Fe called the House of Eternal Return. So you thought that walking inside of a painting was a cool idea. Well, imagine walking inside of an entire science fiction novel. So that's what we're creating here. The House of Eternal Return is going to become an unprecedented, immersive storytelling experience built by the hands of over 100 artists that are working right now in Santa Fe to make it happen. These are sculptors and painters and welders and computer programmers and writers and filmmakers, sound designers. And we're creating 200 plus hours of content for audiences to discover inside of the space. It begins with a Victorian house. The Victorian house belongs to the Selig family. The Selig family seems like a pretty normal family, but you as an audience member get to walk through their house. You get to snoop around, look in their drawers, watch their television, flip through their journals, look at their photo albums. And you soon realize that this family is not nearly as normal as you thought they were. Some strange occurrence has occurred in the house where wormholes have opened up. Time and space have totally been compromised, and these wormholes have opened up and attached themselves to the house. These wormholes act as secret passageways for the audience to go from the house into the multiverse of imaginative spaces that the artists are creating. For instance, if you went to the laundry room and crawled through the dryer, you would end up in this whimsical treehouse forest with magical musical mushrooms that you can play like a marimba. Or take a peek into the chimney and realize that there's like this massive psychedelic cave system that you can spelunk through. The House of Eternal Return is going to become the #1 family attraction in the state of New Mexico when it opens in 2016. But this didn't happen just willy-nilly, like overnight, like, oh, here's an idea, here's George R.R. Martin, poof. It's a lot more work. It's a lot more work than just that. The real story here, and being here on stage by myself is really strange because I think the real story here is the massive collaboration that has occurred to make this and make Meow Wolf get to where it is. And that's the real story behind our company. That's the real story behind this project. We have 75% of our funds currently raised thanks to the courageous givings of investors who are putting money over $1 million into this crazy idea. We have a business mentorship team called Creative Startups that's taken us under their wing, have become part of the collective, and helped us understand the business side of things. We have thousands of supporters in Santa Fe that have been there every single exhibit and have championed us and have always stayed positive with us. We have a mayor in Santa Fe, Mayor Javier Gonzalez, who when he was elected, boldly got behind us, unabashedly has supported us, and has asked us to become more ambitious and make more impact on the city. And then we have all the people who created the shows. And that's where the heart of Meow Wolf is. The story here is about a large group of people who have given up individualism for collectivism, who've decided to work together under some anonymous name, Meow Wolf. Their name's not on the work. The name on the work is Meow Wolf, and they've dedicated themselves to that. We may be a multi-million-dollar company right now, but at the heart of it, we're still an art collective. We're still radically inclusive, and we're still powered by the idea that together we can build spectacular worlds. Thank you.